Okay, so where can you assign this procedure once it is recorded? So you can assign it here in assign restrictions. Now the restriction is fixed. That means it is static restriction that we have created. So instead you can assign catalog procedure or repository procedure. Anything catalog procedure is the procedure which is created and which can be which cannot be transported from one system to another system. Whereas repository procedure can be transported from one system to another system. So here, so this procedure creation is not our task. Okay, it is the task of a modeler. But for knowledge purpose, I'll be showing you to how to create a sample procedure using catalog procedure, and I'll show you how we can restrict it. Okay, that is fine. I'm going to show you that, but in real time, we are not going to create any procedure. Okay, we will only assign a procedure when it is given to us by a modeler. Modeler will tell us, okay, while creating analytical privilege, please assign this so-and-so privilege to the as a restriction in this value section. Okay, after selecting product catalog. Sorry, Nilvi, you're saying something?
No, no.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so that's how you assign dynamic analytical privileges. Okay. So it's a bit complex. Okay, don't get confused because you're not going to be doing this in real time. You just have to select repository procedure and you simply select a value. So this value, what we are going to select is that we are going to select a procedure. So the procedure will pick the value directly from the table, which I will be showing you shortly. Okay, let us do this thing. Let me close this. Okay, let us open an SQL editor on system user ID. Okay, now what I'll do, so let us select a schema here. So I've created a new schema before this class so that I can demonstrate everything. I've also created a sample table called latest, and when it comes to the packages, for the same thing, I've created a package called latest, the same name. And what else I did? I created a view, attribute view, latest, and I've created an analytical privilege, AP underscore track. So we'll be using the same thing for our dynamic analytical privileges. Okay. Now let us create a type here. So, so whatever we are going to discuss here, Nalbi, if you understand or do not understand, it is not a problem. Okay, it is simply I'm simply explaining you for knowledge purpose so that you can understand the difference between a static analytical privilege and a dynamic analytical privilege. Because you can also do this work blindly. Okay, modeler will simply ask you to assign this. He'll tell you what procedure you need to assign and what if you are going to select catalog procedure or what is the other one, repository procedure. He'll tell you this information. Okay, and also these procedures are transported by the modeler only. In rare cases you will be transporting those procedures, which we will discuss in the further class. But now we are creating a type. Create type. Now we will give our schema name. Our schema name is latest dot. Now I'm going to give a thing called employee location output. Instead, I'll give let us restrict on the basis of gender. Okay. Now let me give a table name. I'll create a table called gender with the value gender. Okay. Sorry, let us not keep what I'm saying. Let us keep this as gender output or something. So that we are creating an output table. We know we are creating an output table. Output. Okay, we'll have this as gender and we'll have it as a it's not needed. I can only give one as a dimension value. Okay. Okay. So we have successfully executed this. Okay. Just refresh this. Now see under latest schema if your table has reflected. Latest is there. It will come. We have created a type here. So we'll be creating a table also going forward. Okay. We have created a type. And what we are going to do, we are going to create a table. You'll understand now. Create table. What is a schema? If our schema is latest dot, we are going to create employee gender authorization table. Employee employee gender authorization table. So I'm reiterating the same thing. We are not going to do this anywhere. In the table, I'm creating a value called username. Okay, so that we can give the test user ID here in this authorization table. What we are basically doing is that we are creating a table LB, and we are assigning two values here. It is username and this gender value. Okay, this gender value I'll give what we have created. This gender we have created as a type now in the table. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it as gender. The second value, okay, I'll give it as gender. Gender also I'll give and varchar as one. You might be more good with this SQL. So as a security consultant, there is no need to be very good with SQL because you are not going to do this in the real time. The executor will do it. So what I've basically done, I created a table, authorization table.
Render
So what,
output. Okay.
sorry, who's this? So what we have created is that we have created an authorization table basically, and this authorization table is also created by the modeler only. So what he has done basically, modeler has created table with username as a type and varchar 100 and gender as a type and varchar 1. Okay, what basically happens is that whenever a user logs in, whenever a user tries to access this particular view, he'll be like we'll be like I've shown you earlier in the privilege when we restrict it, instead of fixed we are going to select catalog procedure, and in catalog procedure we are going to select the procedure which we are going to create now. So once the procedure will get redirected to this table, employee gender authorization table, and it will check the username. So whatever username you are using basically has to be maintained in this table with the value that you want to access from that particular table. So then and only then you will be able to view that particular table. So that is the logic behind this. Let's create this table. Okay, the table has been created. Let us refresh this. Okay, a table got created, which is employee gender authorization table. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to basically insert some data into the table. Okay, insert into, what is our schema name? Schema name is latest. And what is our table name? What is our table name? It is employee gender authorization table. Okay, let me do that. Table name. It's employee gender authorization table. Okay, now we're going to insert the values we want. What values I want to insert? I want to give a username called. Okay, I've created some test user ID for the same. Okay, I'll simply create this user. Let us use the same user. Okay, I created this user ID, latest 123. I'll use the same. Latest 123. Basically, I'm inserting a value into this username. Okay, latest 123. Okay, also I want to insert the gender value here. So, what is the gender value I want to insert? I want to insert male as the gender value. Okay, so these two values I've inserted. So whenever this particular user is logging into the system and he has this analytical privilege assigned to him, he will be only able to see the male data. So based on the user, the analytical privilege will be dynamic. It will go into this table, gender authorization table, and it will search. Okay, with the help of a procedure which we are going to create now. Okay, what that procedure will basically do, the procedure will go into this table and it will check whether your user ID is maintained or not in the username variable. Okay, it will check that, and also it will check what content needs to be displayed. Let us say if it has only gender access, if you only have gender access, it will allow you to display only gender access here, not anything more than that. Okay, now we have inserted this data. If you want to see the data, you can always go here. Just do a refresh before checking any data. I refreshed it. Now go to table, go to employee gender authorization table and click on open data preview just to see what data you have. Okay, data is not there yet since we have not executed this. Okay, let me execute it. Sorry, could not execute. And valid column name. Yeah, let us do 3. Sorry. Set equal section. Sorry, latest. Schema name is correct. Latest employee gender authorization table. Okay. Values. Okay. Latest 123. Oh, sorry. No, I want the correct user ID only. Latest, latest 123 and gender as well. There's some syntax error. Let me check. I'm doing it the manual way. Let's see what happens now. But it should take the value. Okay, syntax is the issue, I think. Sorry. Okay, now it will work. See it worked. Okay, fine. So basically the syntax was wrong, so it didn't ask us. So similarly, okay, I'm only inserting one username. So in the real time, you'll have some 10 users that you need to give access to. Okay, you can always create, you can always insert like how many values you want here. Not an issue. Let us say if I want to give this access to an LB, you can always do that. You also have an LB's user ID. Right? Let us give female data to an LB, female data access to an LB's user ID. So that data is also inserted. Now you can see the data. Just do a simple refresh. Don't save. Now go to the data. Where is it? Just go to the table. You find the employee gender authorization table. Open data preview. Now you will be able to see the data. So the user latest 123 is authorized to see data of only male. And LB is only able to see authorized to see only the data of female. Okay, we'll get into this. Okay, we have created the table, we have created a type, we have also created a table, we have also inserted the data into the table. Okay, we have inserted two values into the table. Okay, we have done that. Now what can we do now? Okay, now let us create a procedure. Create feature. Let us give a schema name. Latest dot. Let us give our authorization table name. EMP gender authorization table. EMP gender authorization table. Now, don't ask me like Harsha, who is going to give this access to the user. Of course, we are going to give this access to the user as an analytical privilege, but the procedure has this procedure which I'm going to create is a bit complex. Okay, here I'm only creating it as an example. In real time, we never create procedures. But yes, if you are so if you are so good, if you have enough experience in HANA DB, there is no issue in helping people out in some difficult situations. They might ask you, Asha, so you can you create any procedure. So if you have knowledge, you can help them out, but it is not your activity. But let us say if you are working for a simple organization, small organization, okay? Because I used to do some freelancing for an organization which has some name. But what used to happen is that the modelers were very busy in their own tasks. So at times, what they might say, they will give you the details. Okay, they'll ask you what restriction they want. Now, in authorization table, I maintain gender as a restriction. Similarly, they might give me saying that okay, restrict the data for so and so names the column. They'll give us the column names. Sorry, yeah, they'll give us the column name, column data which needs to be restricted. So they'll give us the values of what restriction they want in the column data. Okay, at times you have to create these things, but it's very less. Okay, you might have only 1% chance to create such tables in the real time because I have in my career I have only created these procedures only twice. I think so. So you'll never get a chance. So look into it carefully so that you can understand. It's a long query that we are going to write. So I have created a procedure. I have given the schema name and I have given the employee gender authorization table name which we have created. Okay, and now I'm going to give what? I'm going to give the data. Just a moment. I'm sorry. We are not going to give the schema name here. We are going to give the procedure name which we are going to create. Sorry, we are not going to give the authorization table name here. We need to give basically the procedure name. So that's where I was wondering like, how can I get this here? Okay, that is going to be domain authorization location. Oh, sorry, authorization gender. Sure. So this is the procedure name. Now this you are going to see this procedure name in that analytical privilege section, which I'm going to show you. Okay. So this is the procedure name we are going to create. So you're basically creating a procedure under the schema latest. Okay. Okay. Fine. So now in procedure, what you are going to do, you have to give the output value. Okay. So where it should check the output value, you need to define that. Okay. What is your output value location? Your output value location is your schema name, that is latest dot. You have created output table basically. Okay. What is your output table? Your output table is employee. Sorry, your output table is gender output. Okay, you can give like whatever output table you want, you can give basically. Now here we have created what output table? We have created output table as our here the output table is latest. Okay, so now we'll be giving the output table as latest only. So after but our schema name is also latest. Let us change it then. It cannot be same, it will give us an error. Latest is a table. Latest is also a table. So what to do? So let's do one thing. Let us do. I'll create it later. Okay. Just giving a random table name here. This is the basic syntax, guys. Okay. Usually, what they usually do, they do not remember this entire thing. Okay, they'll save this, copy paste, and save this in the notepad. So what I'll do at the end of the session, I'll copy paste this into a notepad so that I can share it to you, so that it'll be easy for you to refer. So this is that. Okay, begin value is equal to what value we need to give. Select. We have given data as what, which data has to be collected. The data which has to be collected is our gender. It should select the gender data. Okay, so you're going to select the same thing. You select gender from schema name. What is our schema name? Latest latest dot, and what is your authorization table name? Our authorization table name is PMP P underscore gender gender authorization table. Okay. Now after giving that, you'll give user ID where you have created this value username. Okay, so that it will check the username in gender authorization table basically. So you have created this, right, and given the same name. So username is equal to, so which, who is the user? User is your session user. So whichever user is trying to access that particular privilege will become your session user. Parenthesis. And let's see what happens. Okay, so it's a very complex query. That's what I said. I'm going to walk through this once again. Okay, so don't worry. Let me execute this and see what happens. Let us clear this. Okay, it is executed. Okay, there's an issue. Could not accept your possible test. Valid table. Table does not exist. Gender output. Obviously, we don't have the gender output table here. Okay, so it will obviously throw this error. But the thing is that our table is also latest only. It has to fetch the data from also latest. So that is my worry. But okay, it's not happens. Because gender authorization table. Gender table. Table field. Gender authorization table. It is under schema what and latest. Employee gender. Okay, spelling is authorization table. Okay. So okay, you'll face multiple issues by executing this query. It will be really quick. Contact mismatch procedure, determine authorization gender. Okay, there is some space I think so. Hmm. So it will catch everything. Okay, you cannot escape. It can't anything. You can type mismatch. Determine authorization gender for sure. Determine authorization gender for sure. Worker. Okay. Okay. This is a person. But it should give me the value of latest is this thing. Employee location.
Yeah,
Employee
Manny.
location. Yeah, maybe.
On this procedure, we are trying to create a procedure for latest under determined authorization gender for sure table. And when we execute this procedure, it will display the gender.
Yes. When you execute, not executing the procedure, basically, whenever you are accessing the view, like we were able to access different views, right? Let us say this is an attribute view. Right now, how you are able to see this attribute view is that now we have given a static privilege. It's not dynamic. Like the privilege will not change by its own, right? It will be static. So user to user, you can the privileges can be varied using this dynamic privilege. Let us say in the table, We are going to determine that so and so user, suppose we will have only this data, or Harsha will be able to see only this data, or Shravan will be only able to see this data, or Saurabh will be able to see only that data. So that ways you can restrict it. Suppose a new user enters into your
Mm.
organization, so there
Inside this
is
attribute
no need
view,
to access your
latest,
analytical privilege at a particular level.
inside this attribute view, under latest view, we are limiting the uh, information which the user can view.
Yeah, that is your static privilege that we have seen earlier. Until then, until now, what we have done, we have restricted this view. So
Okay.
we
So
have created.
if we give this attribute view to Nelby, then only Nelby can view all the
Not
information
attribute
under
view.
latest.
See, no, no, don't get confused. If I give you the attribute view access also, you will not be able to view anything as a reporting user. So who is getting this access? First, you need to understand. This access is given to a reporting user who is going to use this only for reporting purpose. That is to only access the data, to only view the data. Okay. In that case, when you are assigning the package to that particular user, you'll be able to get this attribute view access. But this attribute view will not be able to, the end user will not be able to access this attribute view unless and until you give some analytical privilege to the user. Until and unless you assign that analytical privilege, will not be able to view anything. I have assigned this. I just did not refresh it. Now you'll be able to see analytical privilege also. So I have assigned this analytical privilege AP underscore track to the user. Okay, you can see what analytical privilege we have assigned here. So we have assigned analytical privilege as we have restricted it to gender, and we have fixed the value to male, so that the user, latest 1 to 3, who is a reporting user, will only be able to see the data of male employees in your organization. Let me now only you will be able to see male data here. Okay. Now what we discussed in earlier class. Suppose if he has to see the female data also. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have seen earlier. Now what
Mm.
we have two people here in our organization who are male. So if you
Mm.
want to see the female data which is there in the table, so what you need to do, you need to create a new privilege here, analytical privilege. So like if you keep on doing this activity, like you'll end up with more privileges, creating more analytical privileges, and it
Mm.
will be a pain for you to manage all these privileges. So
Mm.
instead, if you have this analytical privilege created, right? Let me go as a system user so that I can show you better. So where is our package? Our package is latest. Okay, under latest, what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this analytical privilege. So under this analytical privilege, now the type is given as fixed. But after we create this table, authorization table, so we can select this procedure, which is catalog procedure or a repository procedure. Now we are selecting catalog procedure, and you can select the procedure name which you have created. Now suppose like I'm creating a procedure name called determined authorization gender for sure procedure. Okay, now once the procedure is created, it will give me in the value section. I can search that procedure in the value section and I'll assign this procedure. Okay, in procedure, what I've done in procedure,
We
whenever
will
this
input the
procedure,
procedure name.
see, we'll input the procedure name here. So when the user, we will input this procedure, and this analytical privilege will not be changed. Same analytical privilege is assigned to the user, but when the user tries to access the data, it will go to this procedure. This procedure gets
Mm.
activated, and this procedure will go into the
From the
table,
assigned
and it will search
restriction,
for
there
the
are
data
multiple types.
from authorization table. From authorization, this employee gender authorization table is there, right? So what the
Mm.
procedure does is that the procedure will check whether this user, so what kind of data can be showed to the user. That data is stored here in employee gender authorization table. So let us say I have maintained two usernames now, like NLB I have maintained. So NLB is maintained with gender data of female. Okay. So this procedure will go here and it will search. So instead of saying, so the basic concept is that instead of changing this analytical privilege itself multiple times, if you have a table, okay, if you have a table, you can simply do a insert command, and you can insert the values. Suppose a new user, suppose Saurabh has come into the company. Saurabh has to see some like, he doesn't want to see the generic data. He want to see some new data. Okay, so what you should do, if you are using this static privilege, you have to adjust the privilege itself. So, and by doing these adjustments, all the other users will also be impacted, right? So suppose the same analytical privilege is assigned to three users, maybe basically Saurabh, you, and me. Okay, now you have to see some X data. Saurabh has to see some X data, and I have to see some other data. Okay, if I'm going to assign the same privilege with same restriction, we three will be able to see all the data. So that is not the requirement. So the requirement should be dynamic. So based on the user ID, based on the data which is maintained in the authorization table, we should be able to see the data. So the restriction has to be dynamic based on the user ID. So for that reason, we are creating this procedure. You understand? Written type mismatch will come whenever you want to give the data, which is of a different type here. But I know what is the issue here. Basically, the value, like the schema name and the table name, we have given it as same, but usually we have to give a separate name here. Okay. Instead, let us try to, or else let us create an employee gender output table. But we have created this thing already. What type we have created here? Okay, sorry. We have created a type here already, right? Gender output. Sorry. We have to assign the output type. Yes, sorry. That is why it is giving a conversion error because it cannot convert the data. Now we are now it will. So basically, it has to store some data. So that type we have given it as this thing. Okay, we have created a gender output type, and in gender output type we have given the table data as gender, and the data is and varchar one. Okay, so I've given the type here, which is our gender output. Let us try to execute. Let us hope it will execute without any errors. Great. Okay, got the point. I've created a procedure. Now I'll reiterate everything which I've done here so that you can understand. Okay, basically what I've created now, I've created an output type. Okay, on schema latest. Okay, this is our output type, gender output. It has to store some output, right? Okay, gender output as table gender, and I've given data and varchar 1. Okay, so
This
what
create
have
type is like a variable.
come again?
The, the create type latest gender output is like a variable.
It is not a variable, it is an output type that we are creating. It stores the output basically. So let us say if you have to, like, we are maintaining the output value here, right? Latest dot gender output. So it'll, so whatever output that you want is stored here, and it hits this table, this output data. And this output type will fetch the data from this particular employee gender authorization table. Okay, you'll understand. Wait, I'll complete this, and I'll quickly do a quick recap to you so that you can understand everything. It's a bit complex. Okay, um, yeah. So let me. Okay, great. It's a bit more visible, I think. Yeah. So yeah, so I have created a type here basically, which stores the output data. Okay, as table gender and varchar one. Okay, this gender value is the same as your uh, value which is stored in your employee gender authorization table. Okay, I've created a table, employee gender authorization table, under the schema, which is latest schema. Okay, and I created a procedure called determined authorization gender for sure, and the output is stored in this. The output which I get here is stored in the gender output type. Okay, you will understand it. Output value. So I've given the schema name, and I've given the output variable. output type. Okay. Okay, and this language, script, SQL, security defined, read as SQL data is all standard. It's all basic. Okay, and what I've done here, I created a select command, select gender from latest employee gender authorization table, where username is equal to session. So what basically happens is that when this procedure is invoked, so what happens is that it checks in the schema. Okay, so it will take your user ID first. Okay, it will take your user ID. So user ID is always your session user. Session user is nothing but your user. So whatever user ID you log in, right, is your session user ID. So this is a session which I created. Okay, so my session user ID will be latest 123. Okay, so I'll be able to view that data. So let's see. So your session user, okay, and it has to check once you are logging with the session user, it has to go into this particular schema and it has to check this employee gender authorization table. What in employee gender authorization table, what it should check? Our output value should be what? Based on what? Based on some type, right? It should be based on what? Some type. What is our type here? Gender output. And gender output should look for what data? Gender output should look for gender data. In which table? Employee gender authorization table. Okay, and based on this, it should give you the output from this table. Okay, it should give you the output from this table, employee gender authorization. Is it clear, Nelby, or do you have any doubts?
It's clear, Saravan, sorry.
Okay, so okay, we have done this now. We have created a procedure. So let's quickly assign this. Let's see. Okay, now we'll try to modify the procedure here. I
Quantity.
created this procedure. Now you'll quickly understand. Let me close this and let me do a quick refresh. So that everything is updated. So refresh is a very important thing in HANA DB. Okay, until you refresh, some data which you have created might not reflect here in the packages. So always be careful while doing something. Okay, don't worry that the data which you have created is gone or something like that. Okay, always be attentive and try to do a system refresh in order to avoid any issues. Okay, now what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to the package I just created under latest. What is this? Okay, latest is there. I'm going into the analytical privilege which we have created. And in analytical privilege, instead of giving the value as fixed, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the procedure. The one which we have created is a catalog procedure. It is- Okay, catalog procedure and value. As I said, what is our value? It's a big name. Let me put this here. So this is our procedure name. Okay, let me copy, paste. Okay, you got your procedure name basically. Okay, click on execute. Hmm. Okay, now what I'll do, now null b is only assigned with female data in that authorization table, right? If you have any doubts, you can also check the authorization table for clarity. Where is the authorization table? It is created under the schema latest, right? You can expand this latest schema. You can go to the table. Okay, you can go to the table. You can select employee gender authorization table, and you can see the content of it. I open the content. Only LB should be able to see only female data from which table, the table called latest. Okay, from this latest table, if LB is logging in, you should be only able to see latest data. And LB, I already assigned you this privilege. If not, I'll assign it to you now. What is this? Also, I think Saurabh has not attended our previous session. Let me give you a quick recap, Saurabh, so that you can understand a few things. Okay, so the major thing. Okay, I have assigned all the privileges to you for my testing purpose. Okay, but now I'll assign. I've already assigned this latest to you. Okay, I've only given select. Okay, I've selected this privilege. Okay, I am checking the package as well. Latest package is also selected under your name. So analytical privilege is fine, everything is fine. Okay, let me log in as user NLB and see what happens now. So user NLB has got the access now.
I should be able to view one record only, no?
You should be only able to view female data now.
Correct.
NLB and what's the user password? Okay. Okay, I have logged in as user NLB. Okay, like, what should I do now? I should basically expand the content folder. I should go to latest. I am able to see the attribute view. I simply see the content. There is a composition error. So attribute view is not properly assigned. So not attribute view. Basically, this access is not assigned to you. Let me check. When I assigned analytical privilege to you, but what happened? Is a package privilege assigned? Okay, latest is assigned. Application privilege is not needed. Sys underscore BI. Okay, I'll tell you what happened here. Okay, we have created this procedure, but we have to assign. We have to grant this access to this sys underscore repo procedure access to sys underscore repo. Why? Because sys underscore repo is the owner. Until and unless you grant this access to sys underscore repo, so whether you create any analytical privilege where you assign this procedure to analytical privilege doesn't matter. It will not work. That restriction will not work. So you should assign that particular, what do you say? That particular procedure to, you have to assign that particular procedure to sys underscore repo, which I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to do a quick refresh. Then you will be able to see everything. Okay, so this is your table, right? Sorry, this is your procedure. You have to assign this access to sys underscore repo. Because sys underscore repo is the owner. So if you're not assigning this access to sys underscore repo, you'll not be able to grant that privilege to any other user. Like, let us say you are an LB. So if I have to grant this access privilege to you, so that is why when I expanded this under null B, I'm not able to see that analytical privilege. Why? Because that analytical privilege is not assigned with the access of that procedure. Because this analytical privilege now is a dynamic privilege. It is not a static privilege, analytical privilege, right? So now I am giving this access to the procedure which we have created. Grant execute on, what is our schema? Latest dot, what is our procedure name? Select the procedure name. You have to do, like, see, this is not, if you want to practice you can practice, but usually this is not what we do. Okay, so it's up to you. If you want to practice you can practice. If you have doubts you can come back to me and ask me. I'm always free. This is true. But yeah, but if you do not practice this also, it's fine. But being a skill, like, I know that you guys are good with SQL. At least you will give it a try because it's more easier for you, and it is difficult for me. Okay, I'm executing this. I'm giving the privilege to the system. Okay, it is successful. Grant is executed successfully. Now let us do a refresh on LB and see what happens.
Raban, is there an object to grant this procedure manually in
No,
the in
no,
the
you cannot.
we
You cannot.
cannot.
Yeah, you, like in HANA-DB, always remember there are a few things that you cannot do manually. Like, you cannot create a schema manually. Okay, You cannot grant privileges to system users manually. Okay, this is a system user ID, right? Sys underscore repo. So if you want to grant some access, like I'm granting this privilege access to sys underscore repo, right? If I'm doing this, I have to always give this access to sys underscore repo at the same time. So whenever I create some data, whenever I create an object, I have to always grant that object access to sys underscore repo, because sys underscore repo is always the grantor of the access to any other user, and it itself should have the access, right, in order to grant. Of course you as a creator have access to that privilege, but in order to assign that privilege to another user, you should always grant this privilege to the sysrepo first. Then only you'll be able to see this data. Okay, I have refreshed this. Let's see what happens now under latest. Are you able to see the privilege or not now? Earlier it was not there. Now you'll also able to see the data.
Okay.
Number as my value access. Okay, it's still showing. Do not allow me. Okay, it's fine. Electrical privilege I've given. Latest 1 2 3 package I've given. Oh, I need to check. There is some issue with this. What is an LB user ID earlier also. I tried to crack it, but I was not able to. That's why I created a new test user ID, which is latest 1 2 3. But yeah, let us try to fix this. There is some issue with this LB user ID. You know that. Okay, first 2024. Okay, everything's fine. System privileges have been everything. So the mandatory objects I've given repository test, and the package I've given as the latest package. I've given sys underscore BIC and sys underscore BI, which is the mandatory thing. Electrical privilege I have assigned. Okay, let me remove this and see. Let me refresh this. A 2950 error is basically is that it is restricting you to view the data. Okay, basically. So let us check our authorization table before we do something. Authorization table is there under the schema latest. So sysrepo we have granted, package privilege we have given, package privilege to latest as repo read. We need to give something else. No, it's not application privilege. Okay, I've given everything. Now what is pending? Should I grant some access to the schemas? Sys underscore repo. I don't think so. Like I can also check like what is the issue and all, but it will be a bit complex for today's session. Okay, let's see what I can do. Sys underscore BI have given, BIC have given, repository rest have given, the schema name that is latest privilege what I've given. Let me see what. Yeah, execute and select is fine. What is missing? What is missing? Something is wrong with this electrical privilege only. How we are able to see it? Electrical privilege. Okay. Fine. Electrical privilege is just fine. Just purposes. Sorry, is it if we practice that we put into this? Yeah, so if we practice in the, what is the issue here? It's always equal here, can catalog procedure, and okay, attribute is given as gender, which is fine. This is this privilege validity gone? No. 5 to 2024, it's also fine. Mm-hmm. Gender attribute is given.
This is a good feature, no? Privilege validity.
Yeah, sorry, come again.
This is a good feature. The privilege validity.
Yeah, privilege validity generally we don't restrict privilege validity. We never do it. It's very rare that we restrict this privilege validity. But yeah, always it is not recommended to do anything when it comes to this privilege validity. You leave it as it is. Uh, but okay, users are assigned. Okay, latest 1 to 3 is only showing up here. Okay. Okay, as a latest 1 to 3, let us see with latest 1 to 3. The latest 1 to 3 is the new user ID which I created because this null user ID was having all these problems with them. So, okay, let me give this access to latest 1 to 3 user ID. We can quickly close the session. That is null B. Sorry, latest that is open latest 1 to 3. But latest 1 to 3 we haven't assigned it in the authorization table. We can do it. Okay. This is a pure user. Okay, there is no privilege assigned to him. I only assigned the basic privileges that are required. It is the latest 1 to 3. Latest is the privilege I have assigned with executable select. Repository rest I have assigned. Analytical privilege I have assigned. Also. The latest. Okay. Package privilege is also I have assigned only latest as privilege. Okay, everything is there. So what is this issue? Is it? So latest is already there. Okay, let us see. We'll not be able to see any data here because we have not given this latest 1 to 3 user ID in the authorization table. Let us add some data here in authorization. Okay, I've done this insert. Let me refresh. If not, if it is not working, I can check in the later next class. Okay, let us last test it for last. Everything should be perfect. Actually, I'll revisit everything what we have done.